Hello, friends. Good evening, everyone. Let me just check here my sound. Let me see if it's working. Hello, guys. See here. Everything seems fine. Okay. Guess you guys can hear me. Yep. Great. Okay, guys. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys from America, guys from Ireland, from Brazil, from the UK, from all over the world. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 23, which is called the Strange Moral. Okay, it's a very interesting chapter because here we have some parts from the Bible which perhaps were misunderstood throughout time, since the times in which they were written after the crucifixion of Jesus. Okay, so we're going to wait a little bit, 2 minutes, then we're going to do our initial prayer and then we can start. So I hope you guys are enjoying the weather. Here in Ireland, we got a rainy morning, but a beautiful afternoon. So there are summers like this, 4 seasons in one day. So I guess that's what we have, but we are quite happy and grateful for that. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do the initial prayer. So for those who feel comfortable, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes, to take a deep breath. Let's be thankful for this time we have to be here among friends, talking and understanding a little bit more of the gospel of our Master Jesus, and the work of the good spirits, which Kardec was part of it. Let's be thankful for everything that we have, our lives, our experiences, the good ones, the bad ones. And let's not forget that everything it's an experience for the spirit in order to progress. Let's not forget that everything that we pass, it's because we must. And let's be thankful for that. Thank God, and so be it. Let's start. Okay, guys. So, as I said, tonight we're going to be starting chapter 23 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, Strange Moral. As we mentioned, this part of the Gospel here, a lot of parts which are in this chapter here, throughout history, many scholars, many historians, many people who were against Christianity, they thought that they were perhaps not said by Jesus, or perhaps they were misinterpreted. Hello, Stevan.
Hello.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm late, but I'm here.
Okay. So, Steve, I was just saying here that we're going to start chapter 23.
Okay.
And here, guys, we have to see that we have several parts, as we said, that they are very controversial. But what we have to remember here, who said these words? According to what we believe, Jesus, okay? But many of these things, I mean, all of the written parts in the Bible, they were not written by Jesus. They were not written in the time that he was alive. All of the Gospels that we have, at least the four canonical ones, what do I mean by the four canonical ones? The canonical Gospels are the Gospels which the Catholic Church has accepted as be truthful. Many other Gospels that we have in history, they are called apocryphal Gospels, and they are not accepted by the Church. But these four ones here we have, and they're accepted by the Church. But none of them, as we said, were written by Jesus or in the time that he was alive. Luke, for example, that we studied quite a lot here in the Gospel, he lived, I think he met Paul 30 years after the crucifixion, or around 20 years, or something like this. But Luke was a quite a young doctor, a physician at that time, once he met Paul. So Paul was in his late 40s, and Luke was like in his early 20s once they met each other. So probably the time that Jesus was alive, Luke was just like a little kid, or he was just being about to born. So a lot of things that we have in the Bible, as we said, they were not really 100% connected with the time of Jesus. And why are we saying this? Because there are certain parts which they sound very strange. Like, for example, here that we have that Jesus says that we should abandon our father, leave behind our family. That he didn't come to bring peace to earth, but he came to bring deception. He came to bring the sword. He came to bring fire, and he wants that fire to go and spread and burn everywhere. Or many other parts here, like for example, let the dead bury their dead. So do not waste your time burying your father, your parents who passed away, but come and follow me. That's quite strange because once we are talking about Jesus, he was the one who always was talking about love, who was always talking about the value of friendship, the value of family. So how come he would say to someone to abandon their parents if before they said that we should honor our parents? And that was one of the Ten Commandments that we have from Moses, which, according to the traditions, came directly from God. So you see, it's quite strange. Do you want to say anything, Steven? Should I keep going?
No, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. And here, we have here when a man comes to Jesus, and he says to that man, "If you do not hate your mother and father, you cannot come and follow me." We are simplifying here, okay, guys? And then let's take this. If a man does not hate his parents and his family, he cannot follow me. But again, how would this personification of love have said that? Then we have two options here. Perhaps Jesus has never said that we have in Luke, or maybe what he said was badly interpreted. Okay, or perhaps the meaning of the word hate, that's what we're going to be seeing here, has a different meaning that we have today. Because as we said, it's very, very contradictory here. So as it says here, written after his death, since no one of the evangelists wrote while he was alive. That's what we said. So everything that we have in the Bible, it was after the crucifixion, guys. We have to be very clear about this. Because many people, you ask for them, do you know that part in the Bible? Because maybe they heard in the church. Oh, yes, who wrote that? Jesus wrote that. And you look at the person, and say, hey, not really. And I understand, we're not saying here that everyone should know everything about the Bible. For example, here we have the Gospel of Luke, for example. But as we said, how come would Luke write a Gospel if he didn't meet Jesus himself? According to some scholars and some historians, Luke wrote the gospel of that we have in the Bible because he heard many, many times Paul talking about Jesus. But then you ask me again, but Wanderley, Paul didn't meet Jesus also. How come he heard Paul and how come who then he heard? Who was the fount that yeah, go ahead. Who was the source that Luke and Paul, for example, would write about Jesus? And the source was Mary, his mother, for example. Paul and Luke, they used to talk all the time with Mary, the mother of Jesus. Was Peter, because Luke used to go to Peter and say, Peter, can you tell me a little bit more about Jesus' life? Remember that time that you told me that he was in a boat and he said this? And Peter used to say, look, he told me this and that, and so on. So we have here two very important people, Luke and Paul, who a lot of times spoke about Jesus, and Paul, especially because of him, we have the Christianity that we have nowadays. But both of them, they have never met Jesus. But the sources were the apostles who met Jesus. John, for example, the youngest apostle, who was the one who died the last from the 12, Mary, the mother of Jesus, Peter, the brother of Jesus that we say, in English. God, I forgot the name in English, guys. Uh, God, sorry, guys, the name just missing here from my mind. But the brother or cousin of Jesus that we have. So all of them who are all of those who are living with Jesus, they were the sources for them. So then here, as we have said here, it's possible also that the language that we have in the time of Jesus was the Hebraic. But then we have a problem because all the gospels, they were written in Greek, not in Hebraic. Why? Because we have to understand that the time of Jesus, the Greek language was what is English for us nowadays. So many works that we have nowadays, they are written in English. Then after they are translated to other languages. Okay, many things that we have, many countries. The first language which appears like to be showing, explaining about the place is in English. So the time of Jesus, the Greek language was the main language. Some scholars they say that the only gospel which perhaps was written a little bit in Hebraic was the Gospel of John, because John was the one who was the youngest apostle. At the time that he met Jesus, he had probably around between 14 and 16, and he was the oldest one. He was the last one to pass away, and the only one who wasn't killed because he met Jesus. Because all of the other apostles, and despite of Judas, who killed himself, were killed by the Roman Empire. Only John died by natural death. So some scholars they say that the only gospel which perhaps was written in Hebraic was the Gospel of John, but everything was written in Greek. Greek. So why I'm saying this? Because perhaps what Jesus said in Hebraic, once was translated to Greek, lost a little bit of the meaning, or maybe the meaning in Greek was a little bit different. For example, the word hate, as it says here, if you do not hate your parents, you cannot be my apostle. But in fact, here we have a Greek translation which says that perhaps in the time of Jesus, the word hate in the translation to Greek or meant actually to love less. So then remember, the word hate at the time of Jesus, once he was translating, meant to love less. So perhaps when Jesus said that unless you hate your parents, you cannot be my apostle, maybe he meant unless you love less your family, you cannot be my apostle. But it's still quite strange. But remember, when Jesus was talking, he was using figures of speech. Okay? So actually, what he was trying to say was to say, love less your family or hate, as we have in the wrong interpretation. That if we give more importance to what we have in life, to the material life that we have, and even our family, if we give more importance to everything that we have here on earth, it's going to be harder to us to progress, to become pure spirits. Because, yes, our family is very important, very, very important. But at the same time, if our family wants to do certain things, for example, here, let's bring that to our daily life here. You have your family, and your family want to take one direction, but you deeply believe that that direction is wrong. You really believe that your family, what they believe and what they are doing, is not really the best for their spiritual future. Then you don't hate your family, or you don't even love less your family, but you leave them a little bit behind and follow your path. That's what we do in life. So perhaps what Jesus was trying to say to us that we have to understand that what's the most important thing in this life, it's our future life, our spiritual life. And family here is a very important basis. Jesus always said that. Remember when Jesus resurrected Lazarus? Lazarus wasn't a direct family of Jesus. Some people they say that Jesus they were cousins actually, but some people they say they were just good family. You know, they were friends. So when Jesus was trying to resurrect Lazarus, according to the gospel, Jesus cried because he felt the pain of the sisters of Lazarus. So Martha and Mary. So what I'm trying to say is like this: a man who love was his great motive would not say to you to love less your family or to leave your family behind. maybe he was trying to, the words that he had some very deep, more deepful meaning behind them, a meaning that perhaps we have to meditate and think about. That's what we are trying to bring here. That's why this chapter called, it's called strange morals, because perhaps a lot of things that we hear here or we heard in the Gospels relate, which are in this chapter here, sound a little bit strange, because we think, come on, how come that man who only taught us how to love, how to be kind, says these kind of words? So there are some things which are not connected to each other. Okay, and also we have to understand that here and sometimes the meaning that the word hate or love less in the time of Jesus also perhaps had a different meaning, historically speaking, at that time, that we have nowadays. So maybe he said hate, okay, or maybe he said love less, but even hate or love less at the time of Jesus perhaps had one meaning, but now has a different meaning. And what is the biggest mistake, historically speaking, is to analyze history. Let's say we are analyzing the history of the Roman Empire, okay, or we are analyzing Egyptian history. And what we do, we use our knowledge of today to analyze the past. That's wrong. We have, once we want to understand the past, we have to bring our mind to the past. We have to try to see with their eyes. So we have to understand that the language of the Hebrews, the Hebraic language, was a very poor language. Sometimes one word meant several things, but they weren't explained properly once it was said. Because remember, we didn't have the writing techniques that we have nowadays. So once we were saying certain words at the time of Jesus, perhaps people they would understand because they could see they were part of the overall context. I hope that makes some sense, guys. If you guys have any questions, go ahead. But that's what we have to try to understand, that a lot of these passages that we have from the gospel, we have to really use our good sense to analyze them. It's like this. I say to you guys, do you like pineapple? And you guys say, yes, I love pineapple. Then I'm planting pineapple in the entire field here. I have only pineapple. But then in the end, I have a pineapple tree there. A pineapple comes from the floor, not from a tree. But imagine if pineapple comes from a tree. We have a tree of pineapple or a place where pineapple is growing that we start to have strawberries. Would you not find that very odd, very strange? What I'm trying to say is like this: if you have someone like Jesus who always taught us how to love one another, how to forgive, how to be kind, how we should be respectful from the elders, how come he would say certain words? And a lot of people, if they heard Jesus saying that in that time, probably they would leave him. And also, he had to use parables, as we have here in the gospel saying, he had to use strong language in order to get people's attention. So many times in the Bible, we have words said by Jesus, which they are figures of speech in order to catch our attention. Once he catch our attention, he will try to describe and explain. Dun, 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 dun. That's the idea. That's the something which is quite particular with older languages, in the Hebrew language in special, because everything in the Hebrew language was said in rhymes. So it was said in rhymes for them people they could remember, and rimas. So we have to use, the time that we were there, we have to understand their tradition, then we can judge. Okay? So let me see, we have here also Lu. Good evening, Lu. Nice to have you here. Our great friend Patrocinio. Nice. Lidiane, we miss you, darling. Long time, yeah. We have also here Leah. Hello, Leah. Thanks, Leah. I'm very glad that I'm here also. I'm glad you like and enjoy. So, okay, guys. So that's the first part here. Then we're going to go to the second part. that we have here on item 4, we have abandon father, mother, and children. So here, Jesus said in Matthew 19:29, and everyone that has forsaken their house and brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake shall receive 100 times as much as I shall inherit in the everlasting life. So here it's quite beautiful because Jesus is trying to say to us that everyone who left house, family, children, the land that they have, shall receive 100 times more, and shall inherit the everlasting life. So shall gain the everlasting life if it was done by His name. So again, what He's trying to say here to us, that if we live everything that we have in our material life here only to follow Him, yes, we shall gain 100 times more, in the future life. But before He said also, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, give to the world what belongs to the world. What He was trying to say, that once we are here incarnated with a physical body, we cannot leave 100% behind. But again, He had to say these words in a strongly manner to catch people's attention. So Jesus, in any time, he wasn't saying at all that we should leave our family behind. No. How come he would say that? If he could leave, if he couldn't leave Lazarus dead, dead perhaps, or with catalepsy or catalepsy. I'm not sure how the term in English is. So he couldn't leave Lazarus there because he felt pain in his heart because he loved Lazarus so much. So how come he would ask us to leave our family, everything behind, only to follow him? So perhaps, again, let's try to understand. He was trying to say to us that, yes, we are here, we are in the material world. You will need this material world, material stuff, in order to live here. But the problem starts once we give more importance to the material things and we forget about the spiritual life. Because once I'm giving more importance to my money, to my job, to my car, or even to the people that I have here on earth, my family, my children, and because of these people and because of this thing, I'm forgetting about my spiritual life, I am gonna be in a big trouble. Because what is the most important part to us, at least for us who are spiritists, is the future life. In the gospel, we have this ideal soul, but here we understand that we have the incarnation, we have the spiritual progress. So here we have to understand that though we live, we need these things here on earth. What we need the most is to be careful about what we think, about what we do, about what we say, because that's the care that we need in order to keep our future life safe. Okay, that's the things that we must watch. And then we keep going here, you know when we have, and another also said, Lord, I will follow you, but allow me first to go and say goodbye to my family. And Jesus said to him, no man, no one can look back. No, sorry, guys. No man who looks back after having put his hand to the plough of his work is in the kingdom. Sorry, I just missed it here, guys. Let me hear here. No man. So he's basically saying to us here, guys, because sometimes this biblical language, old language in English, Portuguese is difficult. Imagine English, guys. Apologies. So he's saying to us that um, this man, he wants some time to go and say to Jesus, calling him, hey, come with me and follow me. Let's go. Let's try to gain more of, not followers, but let's try to bring the gospel. Let's try to explain to people that life is more than this. And the man said to Jesus, hey, I will do it. I'm going to follow. Oh, you are a nice guy. But let me go back and say bye to my family. And Jesus said, no. If you need time to go back and say bye to your family, perhaps you are not ready for it. But again, let's go back and think, who is Jesus? This man who was all the time with the apostles, this man who many times was, with his mother beside, who loved his friends, would he say to this young man, don't say goodbye to your family and follow me? No, but again, what he's trying to say to us, that once we are here in this life, if once, let's say, death comes to us, we cannot say to death, can you wait me for 5 minutes? I just have to say goodbye here to my father, to my parents. Death will say no. So spiritual life does not wait for us to do certain things. That's why you have to use our time wisely. Because sometimes we say, tomorrow I'll do this, tomorrow I'll do that, tomorrow I'm going to be looking after my spiritual life, tomorrow I'm going to be learning about this and that. But then tomorrow comes, then we pass away. Then, unfortunately, perhaps a tragedy can come to us. And, or perhaps we say, tomorrow I'm going to try to reconcile with my mom, with my brother, with who I don't speak for over, I don't know, 10 years, for example. And then that brother passes away. And that's the same thing that we have here in the gospel. Jesus is saying to the man, look, don't leave, don't say goodbye to them, follow me now, come here now. But what Jesus is trying to say is, think about your spiritual life now, not tomorrow, because if tomorrow never comes, you're going to be in trouble. Thank God we have reincarnation, because if by any chance we leave our spiritual life for after, we're going to have reincarnation to try to come again and try to redo it, but at a really high cost. Why? Yes, we have reincarnation. We can reincarnate millions of times, but each time that we reincarnate, we are wasting time. We are going through against something that probably we could have mastered already. We are living, we are just waiting, we are just wasting the chance that we have. That's why we have to be careful. And that's, I believe, what Jesus was trying to say to us in this passage here. Pay attention. The spiritual life is more important. That's why he says here, the interest of future life should take uh, over all the human interests and considerations. So the future life, the spiritual life, should uh, be the first one in our life. Remember, we need to live in this life, so we need work, we need to get a salary, we need some places a car, we need to have a house. Yes, we all need that. We need to have fun, a health fun. I'm not here to judge what is health and what's not health. We are not going to go that path, but we need fun. We need sometimes to travel and enjoy. Yes, Jesus knew that. Christianity or Spiritism, which is a Christian tradition also, never said that we shouldn't enjoy. The problem is the once we try to enjoy all the time in our life 100%. So we forget again about the spiritual life and only concentrate the material life that we have here. And also here in the gospel, we say here, remember the first part of this item 4 says, abandon father and mother and children. So to leave behind our family to follow Jesus. That's the title of this part. But then we have to understand, here on earth, let's say, we are in the time of war. Let's bring ourselves 70 years ago. We are in 2020, World War II, 1945, 55, 75, 77 years ago. If my math is not correct, please someone correct me, please. The end of World War. But let's take the beginning, 1939, okay? The World War II. In the war, if you were here in Europe or back in America, if we were parents and we had a son who perhaps were in his 18s or 20s, most of the time, parents, they would say, son, go and fight the war because that's your duty. We have to do it. Especially here in Europe, okay? Because countries in Europe were invaded. So countries, they have to fight back. That was the right. We're not judging here who was correct or who wasn't correct, okay, guys? But what we have to understand that in the time of war, it's a duty to us, and a son, someone who goes to fight a war, Maybe the parents, they're gonna miss the son, but they know that their son did what must be done. That was his duty for his country. So why I'm saying this, if for certain things we find that that's quite admirable, we find that's quite nice, and that's quite brave for our children to live his life, to live his family and his homeland and fight in a war. But in the time of Jesus, if Jesus had said this, I'm not saying he did, that we should leave everyone behind, was wrong. So to leave everyone behind or everything behind to follow some spiritual tradition, or to follow some kind of belief that believes that we're gonna have a spiritual life, that we are spirits, and that we incarnate is wrong. But to go and leave every day to have to fight for a war, to fight in a war, it's brave. So you see, one thing is brave, the other one is not brave. The other one is, it's ridiculous for some people. That's what some scholars they said. When Jesus said that, come on, Jesus had no heart. How come he says to people to leave their family behind and follow him? But in the situation of war, we do that for our children. You see, it's quite contradictory that we have these kind of ideas, but we have to understand the deep meaning, um, of his words. And also we have here in the gospel that separation is necessary for progress. So what the spirits are saying, that we as a spirits, sometimes we have to separate from each other. We go to different directions in their spiritual life and then in the material life. Do not think that after the crucifixion all the apostles they were there beside each other. They were chatting with each other and all or only talking with people around him. No, we had Paul who went to the Mediterranean. We had Thomas who went away far more in the east. We have Peter who went to Rome. So the apostles they went to different directions. So we have to understand that this temporary separation it's good for us, it's good for our progress. Or for example, I come from a big family. We are 8 siblings, 7 alive, and some of them live in Europe, some of them live in Brazil. Okay, I live in Europe, they live in Brazil, some part live here in Ireland, the other part lives in Malta. So this temporary separation was good for us because we improved as people, as a person. We are better than we were before. So the gospel here explains to us that this temporary separation helps us in order to progress. And we have to understand that this separation that we have here on earth and also in the spiritual world, because think like this. Once we are here on earth, let's say we lose a children, we lose a son, we cry, and we should. It's natural to cry. Imagine if you have a son and that son passes away. It's natural for us to cry. But this pain that we feel here, or let's say you lose your father, he's 8 years old, you're still gonna feel, even if he died naturally or something like this. But the same pain, the spirits they feel once we are reincarnating, and the spirit, let's say a friend, spiritual, how you call the a spirit who is your friend in the spiritual world, sees that you have to go to reincarnate on earth again, especially if he knows that you're going to come to a difficult situation. The spirits who are there, they cry, they feel the same pain the spirits explain to us. So this temporary separation, it's painful, but the spirits, they understand, oh, Wanderley is going to earth now to reincarnate. It's going to be painful for me, but it's going to be good for him. That's the way that perhaps we should see death here on earth. Oh, my father passed away, but I'm sure he's gonna be in a better place. Or I lost a son. I know it's painful, guys. I don't have son. I cannot judge that. I cannot say what it feel like. But I can say, according to the Spiritism, that perhaps we should understand that these children who life took away from us had its own time and own history here on earth and had to move on as a spirit. But the spirits they explain to us here, Here, things are considered purely from the earthly point of view. Spiritism makes us look higher by showing us that real ties of affection are not of the flesh, but are of the spirit. And these ties do not break with separation, nor even through death or physical body. In fact, they become more robust, stronger in the spiritual life by means that cleansing of the spirit, so cleaning the spirit, purifying the spirit. This knowledge is consoling. It's this knowledge is a consoling truth from which a great strength can be gained by all beings to help them to support the vicissitudes of life. So once we understand that this temporary separation that we have, which is we can call death or person passed away or discarnation, whatever, it's just something quite small that we're gonna be seeing that spirit again sometime soon. But it's good for us. It's good for the group of spirits that we are related with. That's why here in this part of the gospel, when Jesus says that we should leave our parents behind, there is a much bigger meaning there. You know, perhaps that's something quite good to us. It's not so bad as we think it is, or so harsh as it sounds. It's something necessary. Okay, and also he's trying to say to us that we shouldn't give 100% importance for everything that we have here on earth. We have to understand that we are spirits, and our life will keep going. That's what we have to understand, and that's not easy. That's quite difficult to us. Let me see here. If you guys have any questions, guys, go ahead. But here, guys, we're going to stop here tonight. So we stopped in item 6. We're going to start next week, item 7, which says to us, leave to the dead the care of burying their dead, which again is another controversial topic that we have in the gospel. But again, here in the gospel according to Spiritism, if you guys want to study more, remember we are in chapter 23. So you guys can read that on your own time, and you guys can go ahead. And if you guys have any question next week from something that you guys read here, you guys can ask. If we know, we're going to explain. If we don't know, we're gonna search with someone else who knows more than us in order to explain. But I understand that to be studying the gospel is not easy. At least for me, it was never easy because a lot of things that I read in the Bible, for me, they never made any sense at all. At all. And the only book which helped me to understand a little bit of the Bible is this. It's the Gospel according to Spiritism. For me, Wanderley. Of course, I like to read some historical books about the Bible time, the Jesus time, to try to understand how the time that he lived was, how was the relation of the Jews and the Romans, how was the relation of men and women at that time. I like to have this kind of knowledge because then everything that we read in the Bible, we're gonna use their past mind. We're not gonna take our brains nowadays and say, oh, okay, you see that passage in the gospel is quite sexist, for example, or that passage in the gospel says this and that, so we must do like this and that. Or, for example, we take sometimes some parts of the Old Testament of Moses, for example, where Moses say that we shouldn't eat seafood, for example. Can we imagine if we say to someone in the Maltese Island or in the south of Italy, "Hey, don't eat your prawns, don't eat your lobster, because that's if you eat that, you're gonna go to hell." And that's what it's written in the Bible, in some part of the Bible in the Old Testament. So there are a few things in the gospel in the Bible itself that you have to read and use our intelligence in order to interpret it. Hey, Steven, you are back. If you wanna say
Yeah.
something.
No, but you, I just arrived. No, 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 no. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
I have here, let me see here.
I was reading the comments here.
Yeah, let me see here. I have wondered for decades why Jesus would want make children orphans. This makes such sense. Cool. Thanks, Lee. I'm glad that it makes some sense to you because Jesus would never want to make anyone orphans, for sure, because he loved the children. He loved the children so much, and we have this in the gospel. Let me see here, Janaina. Thanks, Janaina. I'm glad you like the explanation. I appreciate. And Leah Stevan is here. He's back. He's quite busy working a lot. But yeah, guys, I hope that explanation of these two parts of the gospel makes some sense to you guys. If you guys disagree, it's fine also. But again, that's not my point of view. That's everything which I found here. So if you guys have any issues, send an email to Kardec. He's quite busy, but you guys can send an email to him. You know, he's quite. I'm sure he would reply. Sorry,
I'm
guys.
trying. I'm trying. Yes, if not me, need be reply. Yeah.
Yeah. We have here, guys, some announcements here
Yeah.
that we're gonna get here. So let me just get here. The first one, we have our healing session. Roberta just commented here. Okay, guys. So yes. So our healing session is done here on our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. So if you guys want to join, please, guys, they're gonna be live in
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes. It's here on our YouTube channel, and you guys just go there, and they're gonna have a nice reading, and you guys, I'm sure it's gonna be quite good to everyone who wants to participate. Let me see here. Let me
Yeah.
sorry.
Leah, just go to Spiritism
Okay,
Ireland on YouTube,
hide.
and then you can see
Connect.
us. Okay, but it's a temporary live, so the window is just for 8:30 to have not, if
Yeah.
I'm not wrong, to 9 o'clock. So it's don't stay recorded there. That's why perhaps you try. It was before 8:30 and you couldn't see it.
Okay. I didn't hear, but and also here. Um, what else? Uh, Steven, anything that you wanna? Okay, we have our lives on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're still gonna be having our lives um, for I'd say I wouldn't say forever, but for a long time. I think we got to used to it, and the people they enjoy the way that we do. So our lives they are every Tuesday and Thursday at a 7:15 Dublin time, and 11 a quarter past 11 on Sunday mornings. Okay. Anything else, Stephen?
No, just say to everyone, uh, for those who are Brazilian and it's easy to understand Portuguese, you can Google on YouTube Severino Celestino,
Yeah.
and he is amazing in terms of these explanations about the gospel. And one thing he used to say is, we try to understand comparing to our days. And the gospel was written 2,000 years ago with their culture. So if we do not understand their culture, it's going to be difficult for us to adapt and put what they wrote in our culture, and sometimes doesn't make sense. That's why sometimes doesn't make sense. Is not is there is no meaning for us. But when we understand the culture at that time, why they wrote this, why they use that words, then things starts to make sense. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, thank you, everyone. I'm glad you guys like. And so, anything else, Steven, to add? Any
No, that's it.
announcements?
Thursday, I'll be here.
Okay, so do you want to do the final prayer or I do?
I do it.
Good.
So let's raise up our thoughts again, make connection with superior spirits, with our mentors of your country, mentors of Ireland. Ask them to enlighten ourselves, giving us the strength, the knowledge we need in order to evolve, to learn how to practice the true charity, wisdom to know how to differentiate charity and good acts. Please support those brothers and sisters who are going through bad moments, depression, thinking about suicide. So be it. Amen. Okay.
Steven, just before we go, I checked there. I think there is a message for you.
Okay. Oh yeah. And again, first week of September, we will have our face-to-face meeting on our website. You will find the address. So it's not there yet. So soon we will gonna put it. But save the date. If I'm not wrong, it's 4th of September. Okay, and their virtual lives will still keep on. So no change. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely
Thank
night,
you.
lovely evening. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.